Well, I'm glad you're all here. Uh, this is it's so exciting just to be together, and I'm glad. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit. Vanessa, everybody else has been here, so I'll just say I've been teaching from this book called The Emotional Healthy Leader, and this month we're going to talk about chapter 5 in that book. And but I did just want to just review just to say what did we already look at? And so the first one was about just your inner life and how what has happened in our past impacts us spiritually and as leaders. And that leads to what they called your shadow, stuff that you carry with you or maybe carry into your leadership. The chapter was called Face Your Shadow. We all have stuff that is in our past that impacts us. And so it was mostly just recognizing your weaknesses and recognizing that we need to ask for help when we have weaknesses. The next one we talked about was marriage, leading out of marriage or singleness. And it was focused on embracing whether you're single or married and make sure that your marriage or singleness is a priority in your life, because a lot of us leaders kind of get that mixed up sometimes. And uh, and and um, so that was that focus. um, Last month was Slow Down for Loving Union, and it was talking about just slowing down, having a quiet time, strategically having quiet time in your day, like plan it, put it in your schedule, even take 5 minutes out in the middle of your workday if necessary. If just slowing down and having a loving union with Jesus. And this month, we're talking about Sabbath Delight, is what it's called, practicing Sabbath Delight. And for me, I don't know about you, but this was something I had to work hard at in my life. Some of you guys know me better than others, but I can be a huge worker bee. That is something that I love to do. Working is something I do a lot and enjoy. And Sabbath was the last thing on the list, and it was learning how to have a Sabbath. And then when I left the corporate world, First Place changed my life, transformed me, and well, the Lord tried transform me through First Place. I should rephrase that. And but I have been serving forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And so learning how to slow down, I literally was burning the candle at both ends. So I relate to the practicing Sabbath thing. So one of the things I just wanted to talk about was that here's some quotes from the book, from the chapter about practicing uh, Sabbath, practicing Sabbath delight. So it's more than just practicing Sabbath, actually being delighted to be. Uh, he calls it, we stop. Sabbath means, like the Lord says, he rested, but he stopped. He actually had a Sabbath and ceased all work. So stopping what we're working. And another book I read said to not do anything that was necessary, which I thought was a good way of looking at it. Like if it's a required thing, like I have to do this, like I have to pay my bills or I have to clean the house or stuff. That was things that I was able to figure out. Okay, no, on Sabbath, you're not supposed to do those things that you have to do, things, work things or home things. Another part of Sabbath is resting, getting enough rest, taking a holy nap, just, but it could be, I just, Dr. Sandra Dalton, who did a great webinar for us on sacred rest, she also talks about even going on a hike is a rest, because you're resting your brain, you're resting your mind. You're not feeding TV, if you're doing computer work all the time. She suggested going out into nature is a way of resting and restoring your body. So it doesn't, I know when we hear the word rest, a lot of times we think of it as sleeping or napping, But it also could be reading a really great book, like a book that you just enjoy, if that's something that would replenish you. It in the book it says eating good food. So eating good healthy food is how I would rephrase it. But it is true. Sometimes we don't eat very healthy, on the during the week. So maybe we need to rest from eating, fast food, or rest, eating food that is more nutritious for us. Although I feel personally that we should do that 7 days a week, but you might need to rest. Other things, they said it could just even be playing a sport. So it's really just doing something, resting what you usually do. And then the delight word comes from Genesis 1:31 says that God pronounced that it was very good, that his creation was very good, and he was happy and delighted. And so he rested. And so we have to think of it how the Lord was probably joyful when he had done all the other things, and then he rested and he delighted in the creation, and all the gifts he offered. So we delighting is really, sometimes we rest, but we're worried the whole time. How many of us, we're trying to rest and we're trying to lay it down, but we could be worrying about the things that are not getting done while we're Sabbathing or resting. And so I really want to challenge you to practice being delighted, like taking time off if you don't already, and finding a way of having a Sabbath each week. And in that time, contemplate what God has done for you this week, this month, this year, and spending some holy time with the Lord too on your Sabbath. Um, a lot of people consider Sunday their Sabbath, but I serve at my church, and I am at my church for 4 hours on Sunday, serving when it's a worship service, even though our whole service is an hour and a half. I'm there for at least 4 or 5 hours on the Sundays that I serve. So it's hard to say that Sunday is my Sabbath. How many can I get any? Does anybody else serve at their church, and are there a lot? Any amens there? I don't know.
Before COVID.
Yeah.
I do my Sabbath on Saturday because everybody's running around doing errands.
Yeah.
So I do it on Saturday.
Yeah.
So then on Sunday, I live with my dad to take care of him. And then I can make him a hot breakfast on Sunday and a really extra special dinner on Sunday.
Oh,
So on Saturday, he knows I'm on vacation.
I see. He gives you a day. That's nice. Yeah, because your dad lives with you. So that makes sense. Yeah. Or you live with your dad. I don't know how that works. Yeah. You coexist together, right?
Yeah. But I'm in the rocking chair an awful lot on Saturdays. Just
nice. Yeah.
no electronics, but rocking.
That sounds really nice, Carla. Well, it's really funny because I heard this pastor give this really great sermon this year, and he said, "The world shames us. We actually get shamed." He said, "If a pastor, we get shamed. We never get shamed for working too much, but we get shamed for not working enough." That there is, and it's hard sometimes that you have to say, now I find you all that email me on Wednesdays is my husband's day off. My Sabbath is Wednesdays. And if you email me, and some of you you get an email that says Helen is on Sabbath and she'll get back to you on Thursday. Well, I have gotten tons of positive feedback from people saying, "You go, girl," or "Good for you," or "I'm so glad." So I do encourage you, like, if you get emails or anything, like, it's okay to tell people. I mean, we're not supposed to be bragging about it. I'm just doing it because it's in the middle of the week, and I want people to know, if you send it Tuesday night, all the way to Wednesday, it's not getting answered until Thursday. So, but there's a lot of shame. I just want to say, I just want to point out, we have to realize that the world finds that Sabbath is, there's no shame in working too much. No one thinks there's anything wrong with that. But there is certainly shame in stopping and saying, I don't want to do that, or I'm taking time off. So don't let the world dictate what you're supposed to do. So another thing is there's a lot of neurochemistry that goes on that shows that we produce a lot of I can't even I've lost the word chemicals in our body, our brain, when we're working really hard, like cortisol and stuff like that, where we're trying to cope and everything. And so it's really good for us physically, neurologically, for our brain to take a rest. So that's good. So just want to challenge you. Oh, here it is, release hormones. So a demanding environment, our brains release hormones and chemicals to help us meet the challenges we face. And I know from being a body and soul instructor and being a certified that that's cortisol. And that really can mess us up sometimes if we have too much of that. It's kind of like a fight or flight thing, like, you know what I mean? When you have you need that to get your work done, but you have to take a break from it. Okay. Most of us are familiar with the Judaism and that they require a Sabbath. And if any of you have ever been to Israel, I mean, they take it very seriously. Like you can't all the elevators stop at one of the hotels we stopped on Friday when their Sabbath begins. There, all the elevator stops at every floor. Like you don't push a button. It just opens, you get in, and it stops at every floor. And then it stops on every floor in the back. And for them, they took it to a whole new level. It's so they don't have to push a button. I also noticed like making coffee, like on the days that are on their Sabbath, they handle the coffee machines differently because they don't want to push a button for the coffee. And so to me, it was like, wow, they take it to a whole nother level of, and that's where we have to be really careful because we can get very legalistic. I think that's, we have to be careful about that too. So even Jesus, of course, in the Bible, there's lots of places where he put Sabbath on its ear. They ate on Sabbath, they cooked on Sabbath, they gleaned, some wheat in the field because they were hungry. And so Jesus even healed somebody on the Sabbath, and they were like, well, you're a healer, that's work, you're. And so we have to take it a little, we have to ask the Lord and really just say, what is my Sabbath supposed to look like, and how does it look? And what my Sabbath looks like and your Sabbath looks like could be completely different. But the key is to have delight and to really just be, Sabbath is God's gift. Another thing, if you look in the 10 Commandments, you will see that in all the commandments, the only one that starts with remember is remember the Sabbath. So it's so interesting that the Lord added, or that extra, remember the Sabbath, like don't forget it. God gave it to us and he wants us to have one. So it's a spiritual discipline. And that's one of the things we're challenging, this whole leadership thing is to challenge you to consider, how does that look? What would that look like to practice it in your life? As we're talking, maybe there's something that is like, ooh, whatever. That's how it is for me. I'm traveling for the next month here. When we live in Hawaii, we call it the mainland. And so I'm here. I was in Orlando for a week, and now I'm here for like 10 days in Texas. And then I'll be in Pennsylvania for 10 days when I fly from here to go to Pittsburgh to see where I originated from. I'm going to see my kids. I'm very excited. I get to see my sons. But I realize, when am I going to Sabbath? Because I've been going now for a week. And so tomorrow is going to be more of a Sabbath for me than most days. And flying doesn't really, I flew today and I worked. But so I'm going to try and do it that way. Okay. So now that we've talked about it, what are some things that maybe you got a little nudge on for this? Anybody have a little nudge? Or maybe you have a great practice that you'd like to share with us. Anybody?
I'm terrible about it. I admit it. I have a really, really difficult time scheduling it. So I need to work on that.
Yeah. Good. Go for it, Jeannie. That's true, because she's technically retired, but she cares for her grandchildren. She helps teach them. She does her homework. You run them all around. When is your Sabbath, Jeannie? I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't know. I don't know. Saturday sounds good. Saturday
Yeah.
sounds like it might turn out to be the best one to work. Because I'm kind of like you with Sunday. I start early, go all the way through. So, I put in a good 4 hours at church too on Sunday. So, yeah, I may have to work on that Saturday thing.
Okay. I'm looking forward to hearing about it. All right. Somebody else? Who wants to be boldly sharing? Uh-oh, did I lose somebody? Maybe not.
Well, I can share.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been to Israel too, and it's really amazing when they do the Sabbath. And one of the most amazing things is that it seems like such a family-oriented time because they're having dinner together, and they seem so relaxed because they're not cooking. It's all been prepared under white sheets. So they actually do a lot of work to prepare for it, and then they can relax, I think. But I was just thought of this. I'd forgotten about this. Because my mother has passed away in 2014, but my first week in college many years ago, every Sunday night I called my parents, and I did that until she was in bad shape and couldn't talk anymore. So for years, but that was before cell phones and where you call more often. But every Sunday night I would, even up till the day I couldn't, the week before I couldn't anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good way to connect with somebody in your family, or even your friends if you have first place, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Bev.
Yeah.
And
Thanks.
Jeannie. All right. Who else wants to share?
It's Marty.
Go ahead, Marty.
I heard you talk about this at one of the summits.
Yeah.
It was in San Antonio, but I have a hard time with a whole day of Sabbath. So I think we can carve out 2 or 3 hours, multiple days a week, in order to be away from the world.
Yeah, if that works. I mean, if God is okay with that, I'm not saying it's not. I mean, most of the stuff I read says 24 hours, but I'm in agree with you that I have do it like Tuesday night to Sunday night to Wednesday night. I've done it, like 24, tried to do it 24 hours a row. And I guess if you had every day for 2 or 3 hours, you would get to the 24 hours almost, even 3 hours. But I know my pastor, and I know some of, like you said, Marty, I've been talking about this a long time, is I challenged my pastor who used to be bivocational. So he had a job outside and inside, and we eventually were able to pay him full-time pay. So for like the last 2 years, he's full-time. Well, he works even more now than he did when he was bivocational, when he's a full-time pastor. And it's not obvious to any of us that he has a day off. So I made him, he has to report, he agreed, our council, I'm on the council, but I suggested that in the monthly reporting, if you don't measure it, you don't do it. So, we measure attendance, and we measure tithes and offerings, and we measure events, and we measure how many people, salvations and baptisms. And so I suggested that we start measuring how often does our pastor have a weekly Sabbath. And so, and he's in that same way, Marty. Like last we had our meeting. He's like, well, we're getting 3 hours in 1 day a week. So not complete, but so anyway, but we are reporting it now. And so because he's like that. I know that he's goal driven, performance driven. So it may sound weird, but we set an expectation for our pastor that he should have a Sabbath. I came from a church in Pittsburgh where our pastors all had a day off and we knew when it was. And we would get a text message if you emailed them or texted them that said that they're on their Sabbath. So my church in Pittsburgh, that's how I learned that I wasn't having a Sabbath. Does that make sense? My pastors were being good examples of it. And I was like, well, I definitely don't do that. So, all right, Marty, good try. Maybe you could do 6 hours, 7, maybe.
Well, I'm retired too, and there are days when I do 12 hours of doing nothing, but
Nice.
not purposely being called a Sabbath.
Right. Not delighting in Sabbath and saying, this is
Right.
my day. So
Right.
yeah, cool. All right. Anybody else want to share? And welcome, Ruth Ann, iPhone. We can't see you, but we know you're here. Marilyn, how are you doing in your new place? Are you getting a day off a week?
I get a lot more, well, mainly because I think that the discipline of my walking, because I'm out 5 mornings a week that I leave this building because I still have a car. And so I get to go walk for an hour and do some photography and really see God's creation. And then I share that with the people that pray for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a real Sabbath for me because I really see God's handiwork and I can share that with people.
Cool. Well, I'll just do one more quote from the book. A consistent Sabbath day is essential for creating a meaningful and balanced rhythm of work and rest in your weeks. And I do know that some of you guys are retired, so maybe that's different. But I also know some of you that are retired do a lot of things that look like work to me, but you just don't get paid anymore.
Right. That's where I am right now. So read that again.
Sure.
Consistent Sabbath day is meaningful.
Hold on one second. Of course, I lost it. Give me 1 second.
Sorry.
I'll bring it. No, it's okay. It isn't my fault. It'll be right here. Here it is. A consistent Sabbath day is essential for creating a meaningful and balanced rhythm of work and rest in your week.
Now I find because I do it,
Yeah.
I'm more productive because I'll say, okay, tomorrow's my Sabbath. So Wednesday, I need to clean this. Thursday, I need to do this. And the things get done. But if I knew I had another day, I could slide some of it and not get done. So I actually get more done.
I agree with you there. It makes you prioritize. If you're really like, I'm having a Sabbath, I agree with, you put hedges of protection around it, I guess, you don't let the work bleed in.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you guys may have the same issues I have. I turn all the notifications off on my phone because you can easily, at least I don't have an iPhone, I have an Android, but if you just click on like Gmail, there's a little eye. And if I hit that eye, it brings up a notification thing and I can just turn the notification off on my Gmail. I can turn the notification off on all my emails. I don't on my text messages, but I could if it was a problem. And on Facebook, everything. So there's no notifications coming up to pop up. Does that make sense? Because for me, I like my phone, but I easily, if I look at one work email on my phone, it could be a half an hour later. it could be an hour later. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been working this whole time. So, and you all are getting my out of office saying Helen's on Sabbath. So I really don't have to answer it. Does that make sense? At least I think I don't have to answer it. But there's that sneaky little lie, it's just how Satan is. You know what I mean? He just like, oh, I'll just reel her in with her email.
So Helen, I have an Android as well, and I have notifications turned off from my text messages always. And I just have to periodically look, but if it's sitting on a tabletop, it will vibrate. Or
Oh,
it'll flash at me when a text message comes in, and you can just see the first part. But I chose not to have email on my phone because I do what you're talking about. If email's there, I cannot not look at it. And that's what I
yeah,
did with notifications. I don't want to hear that beep, 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 beep. So I just turn the sound off on notifications.
good. Yeah. Well, I don't have them even pop up at all for that day. I can turn it right back on the next day. It's easy. It takes like
Yeah,
2
but you're talking
minutes.
about email. I'm talking about
Yeah.
notifications. I just turn the sound off. Just turn the
Yeah.
sound off.
Good.
On text messages, turn the sound off
Right.
during that day.
All right. You guys are getting really good ideas. So,
So
right.
do you do your Bible study on your Sabbath?
I
Like
don't. I'm off on Wednesday and I don't do anything on Wednesday. I even used to pray at my church on Wednesday, but when my husband's day off moved, I I I I don't I talked to my pastor. I said, "Yeah, I don't think I'm supposed to go to the prayer meeting thing, even on that." And they were like, "Yeah, that's okay." I mean, I felt guilty, but I was like, "No, I think I'm supposed to stay home and be with my husband and go do whatever that is and not be, okay, I have to do this first, because it's that have to do thing. Does that make sense? I
Mhm.
really liked that definition. I think it's Mark Batterson. He wrote a book called The Rest of God. And he said, cease what is necessary, I think is the word that he wrote. So, so it was an interesting concept. So I've done a lot of work on this and I still have more work because people still don't believe that I actually Sabbath, but I do. Ask my husband. He benefited because I didn't, to be honest, my husband benefited the most because he actually, I try really hard not to be distracted by anything. Now we could have a Zoom meeting with our kids. That's okay. But we usually don't because they work on Wednesdays, so they're, I have adult children who have real jobs and work, and I understand that. All right, enough about me. So that's the 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 gist of what to do this time, this month, this teaching is just to consider it. And really, I love the delight word. Think about delighting in Sabbath, because I think that's the part that we get mixed up is we think we have the Sabbath, but that it just becomes just like one more thing that I need to do. Does that make sense? And it's supposed to be something that we look forward to and enjoy and delight in, instead of, okay, it's just one more thing I'm not doing in my life, if that makes any sense at all. I know it probably does. So, anybody have anything else to say about that? Weary of Sabbath yet? Okay. Well, before we break up into small group discussion time, I just wanted to give you a heads up that we still have no more information about Strength Will Rise, our newest Bible study, which I know you're all waiting for. It is now October. We thought it would be out in mid-August is when we we are now officially 3 months waiting for this Bible study. So it is beyond our control. And so I'm sorry about that. But I do just want to say we did decide to make it PDF fillable available. And we have about 5 virtual groups that are trying that out. And some people are printing the PDF, which is expensive. It's not what we would recommend. A lot of people are enjoying that they can fill it out, but you kind of almost have to have two devices. If you have a virtual meeting, you almost need to have here's where I'm watching my Zoom, and then maybe have an iPad where you have your PDF that you filled in the blanks. I'm just giving you some helpful hints from some of the people. Some people have it on their phone too, but I know some of us have people that are doing virtual, they're attending on their phone. Maybe they only have one device and that might not work for them. So, and we also have a lot of people that love it because they can make it bigger. The font's bigger, they can make it big on their screen. We had a lot of people that wanted it to be bigger. So the PDF does that. But as soon as we have, you can just keep looking at the website if you're waiting for that Bible study, because as soon as we have a ship date, it will go on sale. We'll open pre-sales. As soon as we know that they've shipped the Bible study, we will open the pre-sale so people can pre-order it and then ship them out as soon as they arrive.
Do you have a leaders thing set up for it yet?
Yes, there is a leaders resource set up for it. There is.
Where do I find that?
Under leader resources. And if you just go to the Strength Will Rise Bible study, it in the description at the bottom, it says a leader resource is available for this Bible study.
I haven't found it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's there, but I'm going to quickly look if you don't mind. Because it's supposed to be there. I set it up that way. But and now the way that we originally had it listed as two different things, Strength Will Rise. Now, when you click on it, it's just one thing in our shop, but there's a drop down box that says Strength Will Rise. So Marilyn, if you scroll to the very bottom of the page of the Strength Will Rise, there's a thicker description, like a long description, and it has a link to the leader resource.
Okay.
And in the top section too, it's right under author Karen Porter. It says a leader resource is available. And when you click on the word leader resource, it takes you to the leader resource.
I hadn't found that, but
Okay. Yeah, you do. We have that now.
okay, thanks.
Good question. So I think that's all the new stuff that we're doing. I know if you guys are in New England, Vicki Heath and Megan Heath are going to be up at Ken Hodgson's Hodgson's. I know his name, Hodgson's Church, doing a wellness festival in November. And then in Pittsburgh on the 23rd, I'll be October 23rd, I'm having one in Pittsburgh with Sherry Leggett, who is part of the First Place for Health. She's one of our virtual leaders and is on the board.
What are you doing in Houston?
Wellness Week starts on Thursday.
Oh, that's right, in
Round Top.
Right.
So I'm a body and soul instructor. So I was just in Orlando. Body and Soul has their annual convention. It just happens to be always the weekend before Wellness Week starts. So I'm always at Body and Soul before. It works out well for me. So then I can get more than one thing done while I'm over here from Hawaii. So so it ended Sunday and then yesterday, and then I flew here, and then I'm staying with a friend here, and then we're going on to Round Top on Wednesday.
Oh, have fun. The weather's beautiful.
Yeah, I hope so. It looks like it. All right. I'm going to break us up into 2 groups, and then I don't know, Ruth Ann, can you hear me? Hello, Ruth Ann? Okay, maybe not. All right, I'm going to just leave her in the room with me and Vanessa, because I know Vanessa's new. I know the rest of you are not. And I wanted to know if Bev and Marilyn wanted to be together or separate. I will give you guys the option. What do you want?
We could be together for change.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. I thought I would just give you the option. So
Are they related?
No,
they
we're
co-lead.
Co-lead.
Oh, they
we're the
co-lead.
same
Okay.
group.
Yeah, they're not related. but they co-lead together. So, sometimes I like to split them up because I do that intentionally so they hear different things. So, all right, I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes. Your topic can be of anything of your choosing, but a leadership topic, how you can encourage one another, or you could talk about Sabbath, like our topic this week, or something else that would encourage you. But I know you guys like to talk. So, and for the new people, I'm just going to answer questions and encourage them and tell them it's okay to feel overwhelmed, right? Can we all say that to Vanessa? It is okay to feel overwhelmed. We all felt overwhelmed when we first started leading. I know that we all would agree with that. So, all right, you have 10 minutes and I'll call you guys will come back in 10 minutes. So see you later. Have fun in your group. All right, everybody, welcome back. I see you're here. How was your time together? Does anybody have any big ideas that came out of your time? I want to share. You don't have to, but you could. Bev, you unmuted. What happened? Could you share?
Oh, I don't think I'm good. Well,
No. Yeah.
there was one revelation, but I can't remember now for one of the ladies there, what it was. Do you remember? That would be, oh, I know. She wanted to know if when you're doing a Bible study and you're reading an extra book, if people haven't done their homework on the extra book, to have them assign them one day of it, or one part of it, so that they would for 1 week, so then they would still be motivated to at least
do
do a
it.
little bit. And then also everyone would get a hear from
Yeah.
that book. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's how it worked.
Yeah, I always use the leader discussion questions and don't tend to do day 1, day 2, day 3, but I know a lot of leaders do like to do it that way. So I like to use the leader questions that the Bible study person, because it doesn't always, I feel like you don't actually have to have done the Bible study. I want them to do the Bible study, obviously, but you can answer the leader discussion questions. They're not a question like right out of the Bible study. Does that make sense? And so people can be engaged that way. But thank you. I have heard that before. Assign them, you have to lead this day. So at least they do a day, but they're probably do just that day, that
Well,
whole week.
it's not actually from the study. It's from if you're reading another book, like Vicky's book.
Oh,
that-
right.
So it would be extra work. So on that.
Oh, I
So
see.
that's what I meant. So
So if they're reading like My
isn't that
First
what you said?
Place
I
or
think
something. Yeah.
Marilyn and
Mark.
this lady would know more about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was the one that brought it up, Helen. I'm having trouble on my virtual meeting. This didn't seem to be as trouble while we were meeting in person, but just getting people to do something other than the Bible study. When I assign like chapter 1 in My First Place,
Right.
they're
I
not reading
see.
it. And we're doing Be Free, the new Be Free, and it
Right.
coordinates. I mean, it's actually kind of in sync with it.
It is, isn't it? I'm doing
It
this.
is.
I'm doing Be Free. Now I did write the guide and I did look at I did that on purpose because
Good.
why not? And I don't think we hadn't assigned My First Place before. So
Right.
I thought with the new Be Free that it would be a good way of bringing that in, because that book is awesome, I think.
Yeah.
And
And
so
so anyway, the idea was I've got people that I could say, okay, Laurie, you're going to talk about Be Free chapter 2 next week.
you mean
somebody
My
say-
First Place chapter 2?
I mean, My First Place chapter 2, right? And
Right.
and that way, at least one person will read it, and it won't just be me telling people what it says.
Right. Good. Sounds good. Thank you. I like that. All right. How about Beth, Carla, and Kim? What came out of your group, guys? Who has something to share with everybody? Carla's
Well,
the spokesperson.
Yeah, well, we shared a little bit what our groups were doing. But then we talked about the Sabbath, and I won't name names, but one person, she actually works full time on site at work. So if she doesn't get home from 6 till 6 o'clock, it's harder for her. to get things done, get dinner on the table. So her Saturdays and Sundays are full of getting everything done because she
Right.
doesn't have the luxury of some of us that are working from home
Right.
or are retired. So,
I understand.
so we're going to have to pray for her.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
going to carve out some time for you.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine if the day I have to go back into the office, I'm going to hate it.
Well, I have a really long commute if I have to commute from Hawaii to Texas.
Yeah, you do.
It's not happening. All right. Well, good. And I think that's the reality of it is where to Sabbath. And so to all of you, I would encourage you to ask the Lord, help me. Where does this fit in my life? Is the Sabbath that I have what you want me to have? Am I delighting? And just ask. I think he knows, and he would love for you to spend, be delighted to rest. That's what he is all about. So I just challenge all of you just to ask the Lord, and he will help you. I promise, because that's where I was. Or like, I got stopped. I was working so much. There was just, I literally got physically harmed by these big metal plaques that fell on me at my church. And I was down and out for like 2 weeks. And from now on, I say, okay, don't send the metal plaques. I'm going to Sabbath. So if we were, that's how I look at it, work too much. So, all right, you guys, I'm going to wrap us up.
Yeah.
So let me pray. Lord Jesus, I thank you so much for this group. I thank you, Lord, for all that you do. And I ask with all my heart, Lord, that you would help each of us delight in the Sabbath that you have planned for us, Lord. And I know that you will show us each how much you love us and what does that look like in our lives to honor you and be disciplined in Sabbath for you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Okay.